In this secret laboratory deep down in the bowels of the earth, this man carries out his fiendish research.
Is it safe?
Clear. But I'm gonna torture you anyway.
No, that didn't hurt, did it?
Look, can't let a man die so that you can discover something?
Doctor, he's gone.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
Woohoo! All right, Batman's back, baby. Yeah! We had to wait 3 years, but Batman is back. Yeah! And I heard this one takes place at Christmas. Boom shaka! Woohoo! Anybody else hear about the allegations of anti-Semitism?
Holy
A movie that takes place at Christmas about an anti-Moses who wants to abduct the firstborn sons, who looks like the kind of stereotype that would make Goebbels nut all over a Christmas tree. Oh, there could be a problem with this one. Where do we start? Well, how about first we look at the scenery? You know, before we get to the meat. I mean, this isn't even a side dish. Just imagine this is like garnish on your bat plate. Now, first and foremost, it is important to point out that I am a Gentile. In fact, the closest thing I've ever come to being a Jew is... What's that? Okay. My lawyers are telling me not to finish that sentence, which is hilarious because all my lawyers are... So long story short, like every episode of this show, it's coming from my experiences, which is, pardon the phrase, my cross to bear. Let's talk about the art direction and set design of Gotham. We have clearly influences from Nazi Germany, or at least the turn of the century Germany. And according to my notes, the Germans have a crystal clean history with the Jews. However, to be honest, my Encyclopedia Britannica was missing 1937 to 1946. I'm sure it's nothing to worry about. Don't believe me on the fascist art direction? Take it right from the art director himself's mouth.
We drew on a lot of fascist architecture. We figured that Gotham was kind of the ultimate fascist, you know, where the actual structures overpower humans. Everything's over super scale size. You know, it's like the German Nazi architect Speer. All his buildings were so big, like Germania.
Nazi-like imagery in a movie that's been accused of being anti-Semitic?
Well, Your Honor, we've got plenty of hearsay and conjecture. Those are kinds of evidence.
Now I hear what you're saying. John, don't make me sad about my Batman Returns McDonald's bowel movement I had 32 years ago. That's not real evidence. First off, I'm not here to convince anybody, but just to examine outwardly, and sometimes, enjoyably, internally. Secondly, 32 years ago. Fuck me. Thirdly, this is the conjecture part of the episode. If this was a court case, we are laying the ground, but we are neither prosecution nor defense. Or as my Jewish comrades would say, Hoi vey, don't get so verklemmt. I just canceled myself. Let's give a few definitions to a couple of talking points. Neoclassicism emerged as a Western cultural movement in the decorative and visual arts, literature, theater, music, and architecture that drew inspiration from the art and cultural of classic antiquity. German Expressionism was an artistic movement in the early 20th century that emphasized the artist's inner emotions rather than attempting to replicate reality. German expression films rejected cinematic realism and used visual distortions and hyper-excessive performances to reflect inner conflicts. Now, German Expressionism isn't unheard of by any stretch in a Burton film, but this neo-fascism, that's new. Even Danny Elfman himself based his score off of Richard Wagner, which last I checked is not a big fan of God's chosen people. And one other thing to mention about this film before we get to the meat and potatoes, or should I say lox and gefilte fish, is that the Penguin story takes place 33 years after his birth. Who else died at 33? Let's see, John Belushi, Chris Farley, Sam Cooke, Carol Lambert. Oh, Carol too, huh? But also this little fella who loves bread and architectural paneling, Jesus H. Montgomery Christ. Could it just be a coincidence that this film takes place 33 years later? Kind of an odd number to pick. Could have been 32, could have rounded up to 35. Hell, look at the Penguin, it could have been 57 years for all that matters. Now, I know the story of Moses is, shall we say, in the Jewish part of the Bible, as compared to the shittier sequel, You know, the one that the Christians all have nocturnal emissions over.
Lord, there it is, putting it together right there. Mend this bone.
I mean, Moses isn't Jesus. I mean, at least according to my notes. So it is a considerable stretch to put JC into this anti-Moses parable.
Moses in the basket, then put it among the reeds, okay? Lights, camera, act, diddly doddly doodly, action, Jackson!
Now let's talk about how this movie takes place at Christmas. Surely it came out at the holidays, right? Right? Oh, a summer movie that takes place at Christmas time for theoretically no reason. Hey, who's back there behind that curtain? No, it's not the Wizard of Oz. Is that you, Shane Black? And if you really think about it, Christmas is kind of insignificant to this film. You could write it out and nothing really changes. But hey, you just asked, I think you could write out Christmas from Lethal Weapon, Trading Spaces, or A Christmas Story. Well, scratch that last one. And nothing changes from those films either. So, random coincidence? Yeah, Christmas is unnecessarily in so many movies, so I guess I've got really nothing else to say. I guess it's over. Just one more thing. So let's get into the main issue we have with this film. The main argument comes from two students from Columbia University who had a valid criticism via the New York Times that the film had a bushel load of anti-Semitism. Many people take the Penguin as a horrible caricature. Take word for word from the Times article. DeVito's portrayal of a well-known villain does seem exaggerated compared to alternate versions of the Penguin. Symbolically, the Penguin is a Jew down to his hook nose, pale face, and lust for herring. Further, the character's hostile ambitions feed into the stereotype of the Jew who is unathletic and seemingly unthreatening, but who in fact wants to murder every firstborn child of the Gentile community. I mean, look at him. He's such a hideous-looking thing, hunched over, hideous skin, giant nose, coveting money. Yeah, that's definitely anti-Semitic. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That's just the goblins from Harry Potter. Whoops. And I'm sure that J.K. Rowling doesn't have anything against the Jews, as long as they just identify with the gender they were born with. And in case you've never seen Batman Returns, first off, very interesting video to click on, and I thank you. But let's kind of break down exactly what the issue is with the Penguin. Repulsed by their newborn son's deformities, Oswald's socialite parents set his bassinet adrift into the sewer, where he grows into a short-statured man with flipper-like hands, beak-like nose, and a tendency to eat raw fish and spit up bile. After a disastrous campaign to become mayor of Gotham, the Penguin withdraws into the sewer, where he vows to kill all firstborn sons of Gotham as vengeance for what happened to him as an infant. So evil Moses using the last curse of Exodus to kill Gentile babies of Gotham at Christmas. Take note, Republicans, this is an actual war on Christmas. That's a bad Moses. That's a bad evil Moses. Bad. So in the original story, he was sent down the river in order to be saved, where in Batman Returns, he's sent down the river to die. So let's look beyond just the Penguin himself being a physical manifestation of anti-Semitism and see if there's anything a little further. You know, let's go beyond what the German Ministry of Propaganda would go, whoa, that's way too over the top. Rofi and Koper point out that the Penguin teams up with a corrupt businessman, Max Schreck, whose Jewish-sounding name is borrowed from the actor who played the first Batman on the silver screen, the vampire from Nosferatu. Now, Max Schreck wants the Penguin to run for mayor.
Elections happen in November. Is this not late December?
That's absolutely right. Thanks, Oz. Now, this movie doesn't have to take place at any time, well, except maybe the fall, when Oswald could have actually run during the normal campaign. You know. But they want this film to take place at Christmas. Why? What do they have to win or lose with this time of year? Can that feel projective? Why make this at Christmas? Why 33 years later? Why have the Penguin have all these hateful tropes? Is this movie actually anti-Semitic? Well, if I may present some conjecture, well, on account of that's all I've done this entire time, I would say that the answer is clearly no. People write what they know. They base it on experiences and lived moments. But no one can have lived what it's like to be a superhero. But they can pull from drama they know, based on things they've learned like history and, well, religion. And say what you want about religion, and you can say a lot, but you can't say there isn't a lot of drama in religious history. the kind of drama that can translate very well into other story mediums. And yes, you could make the argument that the Penguin is a vicious stereotype, but take a look at this drawing by Tim Burton, created very early in the stages of production. Tim didn't imagine the original version of an ugly gangster wannabe aristocrat. No, that would never fit in his world. If there was any penguin, well, of course it had to be a disformed, mistreated freak of nature. And if you think about it, this is what a half-man, half-bird would look like. They're just appeasing Tim's vision. And love it or hate it, this film is the most nihilistic of all Batman movies. It's a sad end and no one is a winner. And what better time to place a sad ending than Christmas time? And when villains don't have powers, you can't put a big laser in the sky. You have to give them something horrific in the real world for them to grasp on. Something real, like two men trying to consolidate power for corruption, greed, and complete control. Where have we seen that recently? It just so happens that one of them wants to kill some kids. Come see, come so. When organized crime is essentially defeated, what replaces it? Corporate America. Just look at Vegas. So Max Schreck isn't necessarily a stereotype of a Jewish businessman, but just a corrupt business criminal in general. That's why his name is Schreck. He's a vampire of business. He is the end result of what happens when you remove organized crime. And if all that doesn't track, keep this one thing in mind. Michael Uslan was the executive producer of this film, and every Batman movie for that matter. And guess what? He happens to be Jewish. It would be a strange thing for him to release an anti-Semitic propaganda film, wouldn't it? There is such a thing in this world as an embarrassment of coincidence. And when it comes to Batman Returns, I think we're looking at it.